No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Ooh, the gym. My old stomping grounds. Hank Patterson, fly fishing guide.
Riley Smith, tight end.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, you wouldn't happen to be the kicker?
No, tight end.
Again, thank you. I'm looking for a kicker for Lithia Ford's fall kickoff sale. But you're not the kicker.
No.
Yeah. Nah, the kicker's probably taller and in a lot better shape. So, okay. What position do you play?
Tight end.
Squats. Yeah. Try it sometime.
RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. First up, he led the Broncos to 3 conference championships and 10 20-win seasons. It's Coach Leon Rice. Next, he's the founder and CEO of RowPaint.com. He played a little basketball in high school on the driveway with his mom. It's Andy Rowe.
Oh, no. Want to just paint my house?
Now that I can do. When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's 4-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Well, on Saturday, everybody wanted to see it, and they got to see it. Malachi Nelson from the logo opposite corner of the end zone, and what a catch by Chase Penry. Offense looks good early. Didn't look that great late. The defense turned it on in the second half. The defense ends up, quote-unquote, winning the Boise State Spring Game there on a beautiful day at Albertson Stadium. We bring you in live here on a Monday morning, a Blue and Orange Store Monday morning edition of Bronco Nation News live here at BroncoNationNews.com, the social media channels, both Bronco Nation News and KTIK today, because we got Mike Prater, host of Prater in the Ball Game, columnist here at BNN, jumping on for his weekly Monday appearance. And Mike, first of all, hope you had a good weekend. Another nice day. It looks like it's gonna warm up and fun to have another week. We'll try to milk the spring game talk all week this week, and then next week we'll be desperate for topics for 3 months.
Milk it this week. How about for the entire summer? And you're right about that. It was a beautiful weekend. It was a beautiful Saturday and pretty festive out there. And the weather was great. The football was great. The fun was great. I know Boise State was pretty happy about it. They were talking about season ticket sales and attendance figures and all kinds of fun stuff. So it was a great day on Saturday, and good to see a little bit of football. And there was a lot of good things that happened, and I'm sure plenty of things that we can all decipher for the rest of this summer.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I know Malachi Nelson was certainly the big hit of the spring game. By the way, speaking of Nelson, I'll just throw this out of the way. My 7-year-old had his birthday yesterday. Shout out Alex Martin, Cam Martin's brother. I think I've talked about him. He's doing amazing things in the lawn care business. He's also renting out bounce houses for birthday parties. And I got to tell you, Mike Prater, if you want to have 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids busy for 3+ hours, get them a bounce house in your backyard. That was I've never seen them have so much fun. We had 20-something kids over. Best time to have a party at your house is when you're moving. None of it's your furniture. Your house is clean. Why not have everybody over for a party? And the kids loved it. Had a great birthday party. So shout out Alex Martin. I wanted to give him a quick plug. If you're looking for a birthday party or a private event and you want to have a bounce house or 2 or 3, he's just started renting those out in the Boise area. And 417-629-6832. Highly recommend Alex Martin. Came out, set it up, and the kids loved it, had a blast. We had 2 bounce houses in the backyard for my 7-year-old's birthday party. And again, I know I said this last week because he's doing some lawn care stuff, and I think he's going to come on officially as a sponsor here pretty soon because he's got some big things going. Not even sure if he's going to be back on the team next year or not because he's doing so well in the lawn care business and in terms of these bounce houses and some other stuff he has going on. So I know Cam Martin, his brother, was involved in helping fund him and get him off the ground, and now they got a nice little family business going. So shout out to Alex Martin. And again, if you need a bounce house, highly recommend that. But the Nelson that everyone really wants to talk about is Malachi Nelson. And we had his dad on the pregame show. Really enjoyed that conversation. I'm probably going to play that on tomorrow, I guess it is. Tomorrow I don't have a co-host because Jay's on vacation right now. So I think tomorrow I may play that and talk about it. I know you guys might bring that back up on your show today. Started on the pregame show. Beautiful day. Had Malachi Nelson's dad with us, Eric, for about 20 minutes and then carried on into the game. And sure enough, his first drive, he looked really impressive, had the touchdown. Gabe Hunter had a pick that we'll show as well. But overall, just before we kind of dive into the individuals, as I said, Mike, just beautiful day. And defense won the spring game. But what were just your general takeaways from what we saw up there in the press box?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I can't wait to hear some more about Eric Nelson and Malachi's dad, and that was a good get for you and a great interview by you guys, and a lot of information there. I really love the story about the behind-the-scene details of how this deal came together and how Spencer played this role of I don't know, what's the word, just captivating the Nelson family and really getting them fired up to the point where they ditched their plans, their well-executed plans, and came to Boise. And it was a really cool story. And then all of a sudden, an hour later, we're out on the blue. And I think the first play was a Ashton Genty run for 25 yards. So the fans got what they wanted. Then CJ comes in with the interception. And then all of a sudden, here comes the Malachi Nelson debut. And he was spectacular. And we'll break this down even more, but he was spectacular in that first drive, really spreading the ball around, making some beautiful passes, doing some really cool things. And then to Spencer Danielson's delight, the defense dominated throughout the rest of the day. So beautiful day, beautiful crowd, beautiful energy. It was a really cool day out there.
Yeah, I was just, I mean, for Boise State, I know Genty came up lame, went with the maybe the slight hamstring, but after the game, Spencer said he wasn't going to play much more anyway, and he was fine. They weren't really concerned about that. We'll hear from Spencer Danielson here in a minute. We got some of his comments. Jaden Finch, our great intern at BNN, a student at Boise State, got some put a little highlight package together, so we'll play some of that as we go and talk here over it. Yeah, I mean, you had Gabe Hunter with a nice interception. There wasn't a ton of scoring plays. I mean, after those 2 early touchdowns, I think it was 5 straight 3-and-outs for the defense. And Kent Riddle talked about it on the pregame show with Bedell, but the scoring system's all messed up. It really favors the defense a lot of times, but it's hard in a spring game. And they had so many guys out. I guess the only quote-unquote negative was Genty maybe tweaking the hemi there or just deciding to not push it. But overall, as Spencer said, they didn't really have anybody have serious injuries this spring. They got through the 15 practices. They got a lot done. And a lot of the younger guys got reps while a lot of the starters were out. And, they feel really good overall about the spring and wrapped it up. They felt in a really strong way on Saturday.
Yeah, and there was one other injury that we noticed from the press box. I know you guys were down on the field maybe for that first half and then came up in the press box in the second half. I was in the press box the whole time. And at halftime, Marion McCoy came out after halftime with a boot on his right ankle, on his right foot, and limping pretty significantly. Again, I don't think it was anything more than a foot or an ankle. And then the hammy, as Genty walked off the field at halftime to go into the locker room, he was being very ginger. He had a massive ice pack on the back of that left hammy. So Genty's hammy, McCoy's right foot / ankle, Those look like two pretty decent injuries that would have been significant in the middle of a season, but great timing. They got 3 or 4 months, not very significant injuries. They did. And talking to Spencer Danielson, the injury factor this spring was almost non-existent. If you had to just predict injuries for a spring practice, a spring camp, and those are the only two things you got on the last day of the scrimmage, you're pretty happy and pretty fortunate. So they're going to come out very, very healthy out of this spring camp, and that's a good sign for Boise State football.
Bronco Ray says spring games are fun, but not really showing what the team will look like in the fall. And yeah, I mean, they're very basic offense, very basic plays. And I think we said maybe up to 10 starters or key contributors not even out there. So yeah, it was a glorified practice. They did some 2-point conversion stuff, practiced some other drives. The special teams, the kicker and punter didn't even have the rest of the players out there. They just had the kicker and punter going through their drills. So it was certainly not a quote unquote, game, but it was, they didn't even tackle for a good chunk of it. But best thing was how fast it was. It went pretty quick. You're not going to see me complain about that.
No.
But before, and again, a lot of these rushing stats are skewed, especially for a guy like Genty, because there's no tackling. When they touch you, you're down. But Genty did get 5 carries for 54 yards and that touchdown before he went out. Sire Gaines had 45 rushes on 5 carries as well. Dubar had 6 carries for only 5 yards. Slightly concerning there, but a lot of times the number 2 and 3 running backs are going up against the number 1 defense as well. So you got to keep all that in mind. The quarterbacks, Malachi Nelson was 6 of 19. Great start. And then, the offense didn't really do a whole lot much, like we said after that, but 9 of 16, 137 yards, had that touchdown. Colt Fulton, 7 of 12 for 50 yards. CJ Tiller, only 3 of 9 for 17 yards and had an interception. And then Max Cutforth, the local walk-on, 2 of 6. Caples led the way receiving-wise, 40 yards, 4 catches. Chris Marshall, we haven't seen much of him this spring, Mike. I know he was working with the 2s and 3s in the scrimmage because he only practiced like 2 or 3 times before the spring game due to a injury. But he had 3 catches for 35 yards, and I thought looked pretty good out there. Prince Strawn, 2 catches for 48 yards. He connected on a nice deep ball with Malachi Nelson there. Believe early second quarter it was, or I forget which way they were going back towards the new scoreboard there in the south end zone. But overall, the offense, let's see what the total numbers here were. They had 16 first downs, 91 rushing yards, 223 passing yards, so 314 yards on 71 plays. That's 4.4 yards per play. But only 2 of 15 on third down. If we want to pick up some negatives there for the offense, but as I said, hot start. Didn't finish strong, but again, you're without some linemen. You're without. Didn't have Genty. It was it's not exactly what we're expecting to see, but there was some good and there was some bad also.
I thought the only thing that I came away with was that second drive. I mean, CJ comes in and throws an interception. That's not a good start, and CJ didn't have a good day, and you have to kind of wonder what's going through his head as he has to sit for the summer now, contemplating his spot on this football team in this roster. I think he's smart enough to understand the reality of what's going on. So there's probably a lot bouncing around in his head. And then here comes Malachi Nelson, and he throws that beautiful touchdown pass to Penry. But that third drive is what really caught my attention. And that is what Boise State fans want to see from this offense. With Malachi Nelson, he threw it one off balance to Caples, and then Strawn, and then Genty. 4 or 5 passes. I mean, he completed beautiful passes, different kinds of passes. And we saw exactly what Dirk Cutter was talking about. Dirk Cutter the other day was talking about how he throws off balance. He can complete all the throws, including the off balance throws. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. And we saw a little bit of both. But there in that second and third drives, Malachi Nelson was just creating offense the way that Boise State fans want to see the offense and just passing the ball beautifully. When Dirk Cutter says Malachi Nelson can spin the football, and that's his superpower, we saw a little bit of that on Saturday. After that, yeah, it was all kind of a crapshoot and all kind of just stuff that we kind of had fun with as fans and as observers. But boy, Malachi Nelson early on in that game was really clicking, and that's exactly what fans want to see.
And again, I know it's so easy to make overreactions, Mike, from 1 hour and a half scrimmage in front of fans. There's Ashton Genty, by the way, scoring the touchdown and coming up a little lame as we're showing some of the highlights in the background here. But I mean, again, and you don't want to do this. It is what it is. That was another pick that Tiller had. They got called back due to a sack, by the way. So Tiller could have had 2 interceptions. And another, he would have been 3 of 10 with 2 interceptions if that play had not been called a sack. But it is hard in a game like this, Mike, to not overreact. You don't want to, but you look at it and you say, okay, Malachi Nelson's clearly ahead of Tiller. I mean, 16 pass attempts, and then what Tiller did with 9. We mentioned some of the other third down struggles, the interception that Tiller had, could have had 2. And yeah, I mean, again, we know Maddox Madsen wasn't even out there, but fans that are expecting Malachi Nelson to be number one, saw enough that they probably think that, with some of those throws that he can be. I mean, the touchdown that he had, Mike, I had over 50,000 views already on Twitter just from that one early touchdown that he had. Fans are obviously fired up for it, but maybe we can say at this point, as you said, Malachi's probably proven that he's ahead of CJ at least going into camp. But I mean, it's just so hard to tell since Madsen hasn't been out there what the plan is there for, my YouTube ad started showing there at the end of the video, but I couldn't figure out how to download the video that Jaden posted. So I had to play it off YouTube, and now we're getting an ad for some sugar company. But anyway, just in general, the QB pecking order, and we'll hear from Spencer here in a second about Malachi. But I mean, is it Madsen and Tiller probably going into the fall right there pretty much even, and CJ's well behind at this point, or?
I think so. I do. I mean, maybe not well behind, but yeah, if we're realistic about this, probably. I mean, this is clearly going to be on August 5th or whenever they're going to open up fall camp. It's going to be a 50-50 show with Madsen and Malachi Nelson. There's no doubt about that. The whole goal of this spring ball was to get Malachi Nelson up to Maddox Madsen standards. We saw what Dirk Cutter said the other day about Maddox Madsen. Dirk Cutter loves Maddox Madsen and doesn't really care how much he saw him this spring. He knows what he saw on game film. He knows what he's on tape. He knows what he has, and Dirk Cutter likes Maddox Madsen a lot. So the whole goal for Malachi Nelson was to get to his level, and I really think it'll be a 50-50 battle. And CJ, he's going to have some decisions to make. Does he want to stay and be a loyal Bronco and hang out and do the dog and pony show, if indeed it becomes that again? Or does he have a couple of days here to make a decision in terms of the transfer portal? I know I woke up this morning, and the first thing I thought of was the transfer portal. Heck, I thought about it all night long, thinking, what am I going to wake up to this morning and find out? So far, it's clean. So far, it's quiet. So far, it's all good. And Spencer Danielson has a great track record of roster retention, and I guarantee you that's his job yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and until this thing closes on May 1st. But the quarterback battle, I can't wait. This is going to be a classic battle. And I don't think Dirk Cutter is going to mess around. He's going to make a decision, and we're going to have a QB1 on the 31st of August, and I can't wait to see that battle.
Well, I want to get into the transfer portal thing here in a second, and in particular with CJ Tiller, because there's been 3 or 4 comments on there about him. But I do want to thank a couple of our sponsors. Cutwater Spirits, more than 35 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails. You can pick one up at your local gas station or grocery store. Our studio sponsor here at Bronco Nation News. Make sure you pick up a Cutwater for your next golf outing, tailgate party, or just backyard fun. I love me Long Island, mango margarita, pina colada. Thank you to Cutwater Spirits. Andy Rose, saw him over at the James. Hope you got a chance to see him, Mike Prater. By the way, people are saying he looked like Conor McGregor. He rolled in there looking pretty fit, man. I think Andy's been getting on the weights or something here lately. He had a nice tight-fitting shirt there. I thought he was looking swell. Our title sponsor, Andy Rowe. Appreciate him. RowePaint.com. And again, all your painting needs, interior, exterior of your home, those concrete coatings, they can help you out. They're the best in the business. And there would, as I say all the time, there would be no BNN without RowePaint.com. So help them out, support the sponsors, and consider RowePaint.com for your next painting needs. Mike, we got an announcement of sorts. Wednesday night will be the final episode of the Tyson Degenhart show for this season, or maybe ever. I guess we'll find out here shortly. But Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. We appreciate them. There's a mobile e-branch, online banking, so easy to use, and make sure you make the switch to ICCU. Tyson Degenhart will be putting it out, I believe, on social media today. That on Wednesday night, you're getting a little treat here on the show. I think I might have told you guys last Friday on the radio, but Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, Tyson Degenhart will announce his future plans. And just keeping in mind that Thursday is that deadline for the NBA draft to enter the NBA draft. So interesting timing that Wednesday night, taking it up to the wire, making an announcement on the future at Tyson Degenhart. Really got 3 choices. Can flat out, I guess 4, can just turn pro. He could go to another, transfer portal and then go to another school, collect that NIL money. He could declare for the NBA draft with the intent to maybe come back after he does some workouts, or he could just say that he's staying. So 4 choices for Tyson Degenhart, and we'll see Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, what he decides on Bronco Nation News and the Tyson Degenhart Show, presented by Idaho Central Credit Union. Ridley's Family Markets, 13 locations in the state of Idaho. Shop Ridleys.com. You can get more information, find a location near you. Love that Cuno location. And again, 40% off, up to 40% off at the checkout line if you download their app, that Skip app. And you can get more information there at shopridleys.com. And Matt Boucher and his team, I'm so thrilled that we went with them for our home purchase. Found out very easy, Mike Prater, why the stats say he's number 1. obviously, I now know firsthand why Matt Bauscher is the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. Got my home sold in under a week for better than what we were asking for, and helped us find a home as well. Kelly and Matt and the whole team do a tremendous job there at Bauscher Real Estate, so appreciate them. And any home, any size, they don't care. You can sell the $5 million ones, but you can sell you the smaller ones as well, like ours. And I highly recommend it if you're looking to buy or sell a home. Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate. Check them out at BauscherRealEstate.com. We do mention the transfer portal. This is a quick segue, Mike Prater. We got to watch the basketball transfer portal as well. You do have the Tyson Degenhart news coming Wednesday. We haven't really heard from Omar Stanley at all on his future as well. And then they did have at least one visitor I know of. I believe a center from Oregon State was visiting over the weekend. So we'll see if there's any more additions coming and to the basketball team as well. So I think the window the same. I think it ends at the end of April for both of them. Both teams are trying to hang on here for the next 10 days or so. But you can enter the portal up until that date. You can sign with your new school later on in the summer. So, you up until April 29th, you may have basketball, football players, whatever, entering the portal, and then they can in, May or June decide where they're going. So you don't have to have the new school picked out, just the old school. So we'll keep an eye on the basketball front if they add anybody in the next couple of days after some visits over the weekend. And then obviously the football team, we're mostly looking at exits potentially from the portal. They did get a offensive lineman steal. His brother is on the Boise State team. So you have another lineman coming over from San Jose State, a 3-star guy that's got some experience. They added a walk-on kicker, I believe, from San Jose State as well. So that's now the third, bringing in Cardenas here. That's the third San Jose State, which something tells me Mike Prater doesn't like that. But 3 San Jose State, athletes coming over to the football and basketball teams here. But we don't expect a ton more additions in the portal, Mike Prater. I think we're right now focusing on the exits. And the one spot you look at is just guys that are probably seeing their fate in terms of not playing and those conversations that are going to be happening with the coaching staff this week in you have to wonder what that conversation is going to be like with a CJ Tiller. And I love talking to the guy. We had him on the show last week. You guys had him on. Great interview, great guy. Seems to mentally be in the right spot. But again, you only have a certain number of time to play college football and a certain number of time to make your NIL money and get on the field wherever you want to get on the field. And, I know he's only a redshirt freshman. I get it, Mike. But when you see a guy like Nelson and, Madsen both having multiple years of eligibility left, probably already ahead of you on the depth chart. I hope CJ stays, hope he battles. And he's a young kid, got, 4 years left of college football. But that would be one spot that wouldn't totally surprise me if he decides he's, a distant third and decides to see if there's a better chance to play somewhere else.
These are always awkward conversations when we're talking about, young people and their lives and these major decisions that they're about to make. And we don't know. We don't really have these direct conversations and asking direct questions. But yeah, looking at just looking at the roster, looking at the depth chart, the seating chart, whatever you want to call it, the writings on the wall. And we've tried to be very careful at Idaho Sports Talk about pointing out specific players in the transfer portal. But the 3 positions that I've identified, just based on competition and depth and the class of the depth, and talking like if they're young freshmen or sophomores, but the quarterback position certainly stands out. There's 3 really good running backs at Boise State, and we all know after this season there's going to be a great competition. But Breezy Dubar and all these other guys seem like that they're the kinds of guys. Sire Gaines seem like the kind of guys that really want to play. So I don't know how impatient or patient or loyal they are. We'll see how it shakes out. I'm also keeping an eye on the safety room. That's been one of the biggest storylines of all of spring camp. 3, 4, 5 guys, maybe even 6 competing for 3 starting spots if you throw in the nickel. I know they're working really extensively this spring on dime and nickel packages and trying to get as many of these bodies as they possibly can on the field. But the safety room, the running back room, the quarterback room, those are definitely 3 positions I'm keeping an eye on over these next couple of days.
Yeah, I hope nobody transfers. I'm not advocating for anybody to transfer. I'm just saying if you're, covering this objectively and looking at spots where guys might think they could go somewhere else, I think, Tiller would be one of those guys, but I hope CJ Tiller stays. I think he has but I also, you want him to get a chance to play too. And if he thinks that's not going to be here, then who would blame him? But I think he's got a chance to, compete. And we saw last year how many injuries and crazy stuff happens. Like guys that stick around, like we had Grant Hedrick on the pregame show, on Saturday. And that's a guy that stuck around, earned his chance, didn't really play much till he was a senior, and then leads him to a Fiesta Bowl championship. So, you never know what can happen, and guys that stick around usually get rewarded, but a guy like that, it just it's going to be tough because they bring in Malachi Nelson, and again, we don't expect Nelson to be sitting around on the bench for too long, whether it is the start of the season or whatever. I mean, he's the long term. I think you would expect, but we'll see quarterback. I mean, another position I don't think Let's get back to the game in the spring, but I mean, their wide receiver group, a ton of guys there too that I thought and someone commented how great they looked in the spring game. You mentioned running backs being the strength of this team. I really do think wide receiver could be as well, Mike Prater, and we haven't even seen a Cam Camper out there. Chase Penry is kind of the forgotten man and has had a really, really impressive spring by all indications. I mean, you talk about competition. They're going to have 6-7 guys that truly believe they deserve to be on the field. So I'm going to be very curious how they divvy up the reps at wide receiver come that Georgia Southern game.
Absolutely. And obviously wide receiver is a position where you could use depth. At running back, Ashton Jeanty is going to be that guy, the dominant guy that's going to get 90% of your carries. I thought on Saturday, and I don't know if this is an indication of things to come this season, but they did a great job of spreading the ball out to all kinds of different receivers. Even that one drive we talked about with Malachi Nelson early on in the game where he touched on 4 or 5 different wide receivers. And I didn't see the final stats or don't remember them, but the final stats in terms of how many different wide receivers caught passes, but the ball was distributed very, very well, and they did a nice job there. So I can't wait to see how that plays out. You're right. That's probably another position we need to look at. If you see your writing on the wall that you're a 3rd, 4th, 5th wide receiver, even though that means you could probably get 20, 30, 40 catches around here because this is the kind of offense that's going to be. Although they do say it's a run-heavy offense, and you're going to build everything around Ashton Jeanty. So maybe if you put all these pieces together, one of these wide receivers has to look and see if they have a decision to make. I'll keep an eye on the wide receiver room. Absolutely.
A couple of these guys were running backs, but you had 11 different players catch a pass in the game on Saturday. You had 6 with at least 2 catches. And then again, you had Caples with 4, Chris Marshall. Somebody's asking about Chris Marshall. Yeah, he was out there, had 3 catches, missed a lot of the spring with the injury, but as we said earlier in the show, did come back the last couple of practices. Yep. Marshall, Prince Strawn had 2, Penry had 2. Trevor Scott had 2. So, they definitely moved the ball around. And I think receiver, running back, I mean, Matt Lauder didn't play either at tight end. We've heard good thing about the tight end position. So, I mean, whoever the quarterback is going to have a lot of weapons around him. And I think we all thought, like, from the day they got Malachi Nelson, from the day Ashton Jeanty was coming back to the day they got Dirk Cutter, like, it's all been building. I think we've all thought for a couple months now, Mike Prater, this offense had a chance to be really, really elite and score a lot of points. And nothing changed for me during spring ball to think otherwise. This offense has a chance to be really, really good.
Absolutely. Even though defense completely dominated the second half of Saturday's scrimmage, there's no doubt about it. There's too many good offensive weapons here. The foundation is there with the offensive line. I tried to study the offensive line on Saturday. It got really difficult. I tried to study the right tackle spot between Young and Cox, and not more, but the right tackle spot. And it was just really hard. They brought a lot of people in, and 2 of the offensive line starters weren't even playing in this game. Yeah, Hal Schmidt, that's the guy I was thinking of. So, you didn't really come away with an impression about the offensive line in this game. There were a couple of sacks, but you can't really tell. That's kind of a weird deal. I think his offense is going to be spectacular. I think his offense there's more skill players in this offense than I think I can remember in a long, long time. And depth all across the board. I know they probably don't have as much depth as they want across the offensive line, but they got the 4 or 5 starters, and they got some other potential. So I'm really excited for this offense. And if that's the defense and how they can respond with half the team not even out there in terms of starters, this defense has lots of potential as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 3rd string running back is potentially Sire Gaines, who by all accounts looks like he's got a chance. I mean, if Dubar and Sire Gaines are your options to give Jeanty a rest, and then, is Chase Penry their 6th receiver right now? I mean, yeah, you go down the line. I mean, they have a really, really, I mean, it is, again, you try not to overhype it. You got to keep it on. But I mean, with Dirk Cutter scheming this up, if they can just get average quarterback play with the running game they have and with the receivers that can go make some plays, I mean, Prince Strawn to me looks like he's going to have a just absolute break. I mean, he looks like an NFL receiver to me. I mean, he looks like he has a chance to just be an absolute star. It was funny, Alex Guerrero, we were when he came on with us talking about the transfer portal and not wanting to let some of your guys have big spring games. And you watch what a guy like Prince Strawn can do, man. Just super impressive. And I think the sky is the limit for a guy like that. And then we haven't even mentioned Austin Bolt and Latrell Caples and all these guys. So, yeah, the offense has a chance. But shout out Gabe Hunter. Here's his interception, by the way, Mike Prater. Very early, was it first drive of the game, I believe. It was CJ Tiller at quarterback. But Gabe Hunter, a guy that started out as a walk-on. I believe he ended up getting put on scholarship, but 2 years ago, came in there due to all the injuries on the D-line, the edge position, and made some plays. 2 years ago, I remember talking to him after the championship game. Last year, there were high hopes for him, and then he got hurt and was really a non-factor last year, Mike Prater. But I thought Gabe Hunter asked about him after the scrimmage. Sounds like he's had a great spring. He's healthy, and nice interception there for Gabe Hunter as this defense focuses on more takeaways this year.
Yeah, I was really happy for Gabe, and that's a nice validation for the spring camp that he's had. He's really been really strong this year, but I also felt bad for CJ Tiller right off the bat. And this football team is stressed and just push, turnovers, and ball security. I think when we showed up on the first day of spring camp and saw the first drill, I think it was a ball security drill. That's how much they've really, really emphasized ball security. And then for CJ Tiller to come out of that first drive and throw an interception, it was a nice interception, but it wasn't a great pass. So there's some give and take there, and just wasn't a good look. And you just knew that CJ Tiller was really bummed about that. And he got benched right off the bat. I think that might have been scripted in the plan, so I don't want to put too much into that, because that second drive, Nelson came in. Third drive, Nelson comes in. CJ came back in later in the game and did a couple of nice things, but certainly that's going to stand out on film. But that was a cool moment for Gabe Hunter. There's no doubt about that. And he's kind of a forgotten man, but he's part of the depth that makes this football team and that defense so special right now.
Let's hear from Spencer Danielson. Back to the quarterbacks and Malachi Nelson. Here's Spencer Danielson on Malachi Nelson in the spring game and his spring.
I think Malachi did some good things. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of things on film from some decisions and some ball placement that we got to continue to work on. But you got to think he's the only guy in that quarterback room that had to learn a completely new offense. And so seeing him go from point A to where he's at right now, obviously still a lot of growth, a lot of development needed on his end, but excited where he's grown to. I mean, he's from where he's at right now in the spring game and what we able to see today, from where he was at practice one, there's been a lot of growth and development. Wasn't perfect today, a lot to clean up, made some big throws. He's done a really good job escaping the pocket, using his feet, but there's still a lot of development that needs to be happening.
What did you think of that throw to Penry?
For the first I thought it was a PI, and then I come back and think it's going to be a pick. So, I mean, I love that we gave Chase a shot. I mean, Chase has had a great spring. You talk about a young man that just, you always know what you're going to get. He's going to show up, work his tail off. He's also stepped up in a leadership role on our offense because he's very consistent. Guys know they can count on him. He's bringing people with him, and big time catch there in the end zone.
He told us Cooper Kupp's the guy that I think you were there for that, Mike Prater, that Penry told us Cooper Kupp's the guy that Dirk's been showing him film of and they've been working about, and just that kind of possession guy. He talks a lot about third downs being a key guy, and he had double coverage there, and that was, we showed it earlier, but one of the highlights of the scrimmage early on was that deep throw, and it was a great throw, but Chase Penry made a heck of a catch.
Yeah, I thought the catch was better than the throw. I mean, the throw was definitely right there in coverage, but it was a beautiful catch. And don't forget Penry. I mean, he's one of these tough, fast, athletic dudes that's also, dabbled a lot on the return game. So I think he might be that Swiss Army knife kind of guy. At one point, I think I saw him. Didn't he get wasn't there a screenplay, and maybe he was looking for a pass? So maybe was that Penry? So maybe they're looking for some trickeration there. I think this guy can run the ball, catch the ball, return the ball, throw the ball, and just be a great teammate. Chase Penry will not be the superstar of this football team, but behind the scenes, he's going to be one of the unsung heroes that's going to do a lot for this football team. He might be the superstar in the locker room because of all the things that he can do. I love that kid. On that one play where Chase Penry was going to throw it and then tucked it and ran, he got 8 yards on the run, which was more than Dubar had all game on his 6 carries there. So Penry looks like he's going to be a weapon for this team. But again, you got Bolt and Strawn and Caples and Marshall and Camper, and you go down there. I mean, it's just ridiculous what Matt Miller's got to work with this year. And same thing for James Montgomery at running back. What's your one I mean, we're not trying to say every position is just amazing here and there's going to be All-Americans all over the field. But I mean, is there one position that still, I don't even know if concerns the right word, but if we're speaking positively about so much on this team right now, is there one position? I guess maybe it's linebacker. I mean, no Triani was out, but we still feel pretty good about him and what Jake Ripp did coming in. And obviously Andrew Simpson's got a chance to be a star, but maybe it's the edge rushers. I mean, you have Hassanin, but they didn't get a ton of production at times off the edge last year, and they've brought in some transfers and stuff. But
where are you looking at, I guess, going into the summer here in terms of questions or concerns, I guess, on this football team heading into fall camp?
I feel pretty comfortable saying this, that I think every position group across the board on this football team got better in the spring. And we sat there and watched it. And again, thanks to Boise State for all the access we had this year. We had unprecedented access in terms of watching almost every minute of every practice. And I think across the board on offense, every position group got better, or somebody inside that position group got better. Like, let's say a Matt Lauder, who really made a name for himself with a strong spring. On the defensive side, I'd say the exact same thing, except, and I'm going to lump them all together, the defensive line. And part of that is because of what you just said, the injuries. Hassanin's out and a couple of other guys out. I don't remember a lot of buzz. There wasn't a lot of conversation about the growth and the development of the defensive line, the edge rushers, the inside guys. And maybe that's just because it's an unsexy position. The nose tackle is never going to get a lot of love. There's 3 nose tackles on this football team led by Gums, and they're all pretty good players, but they're not going to get the stats. But I don't remember anybody ever talking about them. I don't remember seeing a lot of development. I'm talking about D tackles, D linemen, edge rushers, nose tackles. The front line across the board, to me, is the only position group on this football team. I don't want to say it's a position of concern, but I don't remember at any point during spring camp where I said that group, that unit, or that player is getting better. So there's some serious development that needs to happen along the defensive line when we start fall camp in August.
Who's a guy or two, Mike Prater, that you're leaving fall camp with a better feeling about them than you went into fall or into spring camp? And if that's just a guy that was a freshman and stepped up, or a guy for you that you've heard a lot about or saw and impressed you? I mean, is there a name or 2 or 3 of guys that have you think elevated their chances, or that you're going to take more seriously or look at differently this summer and into the fall?
Well, certainly Jeremiah Irby, the cornerback, stood out. He was the individual star, starting from scratch to where he is now of spring camp. Jeremiah Irby, in my mind, and I don't know if the coaches feel this way, but Jeremiah Irby, in my mind, was the only player on this football team. There's, 110 football players on this team right now. He's the only one that won a starting job in the spring. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to keep it in the fall, but come on, that dude is on fire. The transfer from Cal, I love what Jeremiah Irby does. Even though McCoy left the game on Saturday in a boot, I think the cornerback position is absolutely solid right now. Now, there's some depth issues behind Irby and McCoy. We'll see how that plays out. Jake Ripp, the linebacker, where there's depth needed. They got 2 good linebackers in Notriani and Simpson, and I think those 2 guys are going to be good. Notriani didn't do anything this spring except rehab, and all of a sudden, here comes Jake Ripp, a big, powerful playmaker. He certainly stood out to me. Ripp, Irby, those 2 guys on defense really, really stood out. And probably if you jump over to the offensive side, the thing that people talked about the most in terms of surprises was Hal Schmidt, the right tackle, and he did a nice job. He's probably your starting right tackle as of now. He'll go into fall camp as your starting right tackle, and we'll have to learn more about Hal Schmidt in the fall.
I'd throw Sire Gaines in there as well, and I think Matt Lauder too. I mean, everybody knew he was a playmaker, but I think that, with Riley Smith leaving, I think he missed some of the practices, but for some that he was out there was a lot of talk about Matt Lauder really becoming that playmaking threat at tight end as well. And as I said, Gaines really for me was a guy, incoming freshman, to this guy might legit get some carries this year. So I would put both those guys up there. In the final few minutes we have left, I want to spin this forward, Mike Prater, to the summer and getting ready for fall camp. But first, I want to tell you about Lithia Ford of Boise. Check them out, lithiafordboise.com. You can view all their inventory of vehicles online, and then find the couple you like the Raines family did. Went in with our 2 or 3 and test drove them, and already had all the details, so we were ready to go to make our decision, and we were happy to purchase this one from them. 6 Boise State athletes, including 4 football players, Mike Prater. That's a big deal, driving vehicles from Lithia Ford to Boise. Jonah Dalmas, the most recent one. We mentioned Matt Lauder, Andrew Simpson, and Ahmed Hassanin. So Jim Sturk and company stepping up. Lithia Ford of Boise. Check them out, lithiafordboise.com. Taco Bell, you need a job? How about Taco Bell? They're hiring. They'll give you half your wages the very next day after your shift, and they'll give you free food while you work. What could be better than that? Free food, and again, you don't have to wait 3 weeks to get that first paycheck. They'll pay you the very next day after your first shift. Check them out, TacoBellWorks.com, to get more information. We appreciate the Nicolason family and SON management. The Blue and Orange store, you need some gear. They got the NIL shirts, and they now, Mike Prater, are selling the Ashton Genty Heisman shirts. I know you love that logo. You love that shirt, Mike Prater, and they're selling those at the Blue and Orange store. So the blueandorange store.com online, you get free shipping for any order over $40, or you just go into the Boise Town Square Mall, the second floor there next to the Pro Image store that sells all the pro stuff. They got the full store for Boise State gear right next door, and all the NIL shirts, including that new Ashton Genty Heisman shirt. You can get it there at the Blue and Orange store. And if you need a job, Transportation Compliance Service can help you get into the trucking industry in no time. Very affordable, and all the permits, DOT overweight, everything you need to get out there towing that first load in no time. Check them out, transcompservice.com. And again, you will not be disappointed. Mike Prater, I may sneak out at some point this week. Timberstone Golf Course, play timberstone.com. Weather's starting to warm up, and I haven't swung a golf club in about 8.5 months since fall camp started. And so we'll see if we can get out there, because that's where we'll be having May 31st. We're getting closer. The golf tournament, looking forward to getting back out there May 31st. We're down to like 2 foursomes for the morning. We're almost sold out. So if you want to play in the morning, we got 2 foursomes left. Don't wait. We have some afternoon foursomes as well. Everything is going to be exactly the same sponsors. I know last year was our first time trying the afternoon, so a couple of the sponsors couldn't stick around, but we will have the same exact sponsors, giveaways, everything in the afternoon as the morning. And if you want to work your morning half day, come out in the afternoon. I think that's a very intriguing option as well. Then you can go right into your Friday afternoon, Friday evening and the weekend. So May 31st, morning, afternoon sessions still available, but not many. BroncoNationNews.com/golf. Sign up today. BroncoNationNews.com/golf. You have a lot of former players out there, current players. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. And again, we're giving away a hole-in-one. We're giving away a car if you get a hole-in-one, thanks to Lithia Ford Boise, LithiaFordBoise.com, a Bronco Sport for a hole-in-one at the tournament. We're looking forward to that. We'll have a new announcement coming up, Mike Prater, on a new celebrity shot. We may be going over to the football side on this one. I think it's going to be appealing for folks. Celebrity shot on hole 17, I believe it is, out there over the water at Timberstone. And you got a chance to meet some cool, favorite coaches, players. Spencer Danielson's going to be there. So highly recommend signing up now if you haven't for the BNN golf tournament coming up on May 31st. All right. I had a quote I was going to play from Spencer Danielson. We're short on time. I'm going to save that. But Mike, just your thoughts on now the hype and the 3 months of offseason and the expectations for this team. And I don't know if you noticed it or not, but I mean, like, as the spring went on, Mike, like on their own, a lot of guys brought up the playoff. And I think that's, what they just kind of like, now that that's actually a realistic carrot for a team like Boise State to be chasing for, it really does seem like, whether or not they're going to officially change their motto up on the wall in the team room or not, I don't know. But it seems like win in the Mountain West, and if you win the Mountain West this year, you're going to be in prime position to get in that college football playoff. And I think players, especially the seniors, they're talking about wanting to be the first team to do that and wanting to make history and be the first, Boise State team in the CFP and the new first group of 5 team in the new format. I mean, it's in years past, it's been crazy to think about, but it's a realistic goal. And we just spent 42 minutes hyping up this team and this offense and defense and special teams. I mean, there's not a lot of like serious weak links on this team right now. This is a goal the players have. This is a goal the fans have. Is this a realistic goal for year one of the Spencer Danielson era here for this team to compete for a CFP spot?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but absolutely. And this whole thing started last November, when Jeremiah Dickey made a change and got rid of Andy Avalos. And he stood up behind that podium and said, a sense of urgency, college football playoff. And you're right, BJ. It's shocking about how many individual interviews we've done with players during spring camp, and they just bring it up, whether we ask about it or they just bring it up on their own. College football playoff, CFP, tournament. Every single one of these players knows exactly what's ahead. And certainly Boise State is the group of 5, will be one of the group of 5 people on this list, a very short list. Let's go 3 to 5 teams going into the offseason are capable of doing this. We'll see how it shakes out in August, September, October. Boise State's got a tough schedule, but I think all the pieces are in place. The most important thing for summer is this week alone, or these next, 8-9 days or whatever it is, the roster retention. And I don't think Boise State, I'd be stunned if Boise State's going to lose any, relevant players right now. I think maybe some depth guys, some younger guys could go. We'll see how it plays out. But I think this roster is intact. I think Spencer Danielson and his football team have done a fantastic job of formalizing this roster, the coaching staff, some of the, the infrastructure that needs to have happen. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I think it's going to be an exciting offseason. Jeremiah Dickey announced his season ticket goal on the continuation of his season ticket goal on Saturday. They want to try to get to 20,000, which hasn't happened around here in a long, long time. And I think they're already at 14,000 season tickets, 93% ahead of what they were last year at this time. So that'll be the big push in the offseason in terms of season tickets. Can they get to that goal of 20,000? You know, Jeremiah Dickey will find a way to get to that goal, even if he has to play the marketing game a little bit, because that's what he does. And I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be an exciting offseason. Keep this roster together, and can't wait till August.
Yeah, they had more than double the attendance at the spring game they had last year's spring game, over 7,000 in attendance. And so excitement seems high, energy seems high, and we'll be here all summer to cover it and get you ready. You got media days earlier in July this year, so that'll make things feel like they're starting a little bit earlier. And then it's going to be a fun off season getting ready. And I think this year they're going to do a little better job of still having some player and coach availability throughout the summer. So hopefully the football coverage will never really stop here on BNN and KTIK. What do we got? I know big show, 3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk. I know you guys will be wrapping up the spring game. What's on the docket today, Mike Prater?
Yeah, spring game, and talking a lot about the spring game. We may play around with your Eric Nelson interview, the father of Malachi. That was a beautiful interview you guys did. We may grab a couple pieces of audio there and share that story, because I loved the story that you told. Tomorrow we're going to have Max Rice on. He's going to be in studio. We're going to talk a little basketball, and certainly the NFL draft is all week long. We'll continue our position previews and our position series. A lot of sexy positions this week, wide receivers and quarterbacks. And George Chalani. We're going to talk a lot about George Chalani, and can he keep this streak that Boise State has of getting a player drafted all the way back to 2009. It's a 15-year streak. Every year Boise State's had a player drafted. George Chalani's on the clock. Can he get drafted on Saturday, or is he going to be a free agent guy on Sunday morning? So lots and lots of football this week, BJ.
Go subscribe, BroncoNationNews.com. $50 for a full year if you use that promo code BNN50 deal. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming down the line. We'll be covering all summer. We'll have our countdown series going, and then you get your Mike Prater columns. And so we got a lot going on, and I hope you can help support us as we get ready for what should be Mike Prater, the combination of football and basketball. I know basketball is subdued a little bit with Abo leaving. We'll see what they do to their roster, but the combination of football and basketball, I would think this will be as highly anticipated fall, winter, spring, going into the season that those two teams have had at the same time here in a long, long time. So it should be an exciting year for Boise State athletics. By the way, shout out Justin Schultz, the softball team. They had a big weekend series, and it was the 100th career win for Justin Schultz, the softball coach. So congratulations to him. And again, looking forward to the summer, looking forward to the year. We'll have you covered every step of the way with these 9 a.m. daily shows. Will continue every day throughout the summer and into fall camp. So excited for that, and excited for today's 3 to 6 Idaho Sports Talk. Looking forward to hearing that from you guys. And then Max Rice tomorrow in studio will be good as well. So appreciate you, Prater. Thanks to JP for helping get us on the air. We'll be listening 3 to 6 today. I'll be back 9 a.m. tomorrow. And appreciate you guys. Go subscribe, like the video, tell your friends. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com.